Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new to Seemindymom, welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to show you some meals that I am preparing for myself and my family throughout the week that will help us use up some of the food that we already have on hand in our kitchen and delay going to the grocery store. So stay tuned. All right, you guys, this is another pantry challenge. Can I call it a pantry challenge if I am also using stuff from the fridge and the freezer? To me, pantry challenge just means use it up. You know, use the stuff that we already have on hand in our kitchen and don't go out and buy more until we've used most of that up. And I will admit that this one is not going to be as challenging as previous pantry challenges that I've done. I've done videos like this before. I will leave some of them linked in the description box below. I definitely have more food on hand, but I feel like it's kind of random. You know, I feel like it's gonna be interesting to see what meals I can throw together with what I have. But I definitely wanna use some of this stuff up before I go back to the grocery store. And I feel like delaying a grocery trip is saving money. If I challenge myself to do this even every other month, that's 6 grocery trips throughout the year that I am not doing. And to me, that takes away the probability of impulse buying. It takes away the possibility that I'm letting stuff go to waste that I already have on hand in my kitchen. So I feel like it is saving money in the long term. And again, I know we have plenty of food and some of it is some convenience items like some frozen meals and things, but I just want to use some of that up before I go out to the grocery store again. And I realize that you may not, probably don't have the exact same stuff that I have on hand, but the idea is inspiration here, is just inspiring you to maybe think outside the box, delay going to the grocery store a few days if you can, save yourself some money, get creative with the stuff that you already have on hand in your kitchen. So I hope that I can do that for you guys. Here is the fridge. It's not perfectly squeaky clean, but it's passable. I have some bacon up here, which is great because I don't have a lot of meat on hand, so that could come in handy for a recipe. Some butter, some sour cream, a little cream cheese and feta. I do have just a little bit of cheese, like, you know, maybe half a block of cheese and a few pieces of sliced cheese. I have some sausage in here. Looks like I have some Laughing Cow back there. I'm actually not a huge fan of Laughing Cow. I don't know when I bought that. I might need to check the date on that. These are some little chicken sausages from Trader Joe's, so that could come in handy. Some yogurt, a little bit of cottage cheese, just a skosh of that whole milk left, some 2% milk. It'll be nice to have milk because I do not have eggs. Looks like some green beans, seam in the bag green beans that have already been cooked. I'll probably just have those for lunch. And a chocolate cream pie that will be gone, I guarantee you, by the end of the day. And then in the door, I have some butter and some cream cheese up here, and then just kind of, you know, assorted condiments down there. Let's take a tour of the freezer. Looks like I have some frozen waffles up here in the door. These are like breadcrumbs. I really just need to get rid of that. I've had it forever and I won't use it. Looks like a package of French fries. Those are some taquitos. I didn't buy those. I wonder if my husband bought those. I'm not a huge fan. Just a handful of Rhodes dinner rolls. I bet I can come up with something for that. And a few packages of open veggies. And yes, some frozen ravioli. I forgot that I bought these. I have hardly any fruit for the week, but I was happy to find that I have a little cantaloupe in here that came in my last imperfect box. And I don't have a lot of fresh veggies. Ooh, that lettuce needs to go, but the bell peppers might be okay. And then I have just some carrots and some garlic and onions. I do have some frozen veggies out in my chest freezer. I think I have like a few salmon fillets out there too, so we'll see what we have out there. In the pantry, plenty to work with here. I don't have any bread, but there's a few open packages of tortilla chips and some tortillas. We do have peanut butter. We have a few boxes of cereal, just the very ends of them that I want to like use up. There's just a little bit in these containers, so hopefully we can eat a few bowls of cereal this week. This is my husband's oatmeal. There's a few packaged snacks in there, which are good for when we're running out the door with the kids. Pretzels, pistachios, graham crackers. There's some microwave popcorn in here and just a few open packages of crackers I'd like to use up. A little bit of applesauce, some canned goods. Have plenty of like pasta and rice options, but I really want to focus on using up open packages and try to get some of that out of my pantry. And then up here is just kind of your standard baking supplies, flour, sugar, brown sugar, baking soda, stuff like that. So I'm probably not going to worry about touching that stuff. I had some pulled pork in the freezer that I really wanted to use up. It's been in there for a few months, so I need to use it. And I thought I would try to make some lunches for myself with that. I also had a bunch of open packages of various starches in my pantry that I wanted to try to use up. I just had one serving of these grits. So I made them according to the package directions. And then I added just some salt and pepper and one of those wedges of the Laughing Cow cheese from my fridge. And then on top of that, I put some of my pulled pork from the freezer into like a frying pan. And then I sauteed these bell peppers, which really needed to be used today because they were already sliced, in the fat that the pork had rendered. And so it kind of seasons the whole dish, just having this pulled pork with it. And just added a little bit of salt and pepper, and that is going to be my lunch today. And then I can use the rest of this pulled pork to try to create just some other really simple lunches, probably with, you know, some noodles or some rice, just whatever I can come up with to try to use this up, along with other stuff in my pantry, fridge, and freezer. Okay, so for dinner tonight, the plan changed suddenly. I thought I had a plan, but then the kids' activity schedule changed, and now I'm going to be out of the house at dinner time. So thank goodness for this Trader Joe's pasta that I had in the freezer, and I actually have 2 bags of it. And I debated whether or not to make just 1 bag, but I think I'm maybe gonna need both bags to feed all 5 of us. But I needed to throw together something that will reheat well because we're gonna be eating in shifts tonight. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna toss my 2 bags of this into a pot on the stove. There are some stovetop directions. It says to add a tablespoon of olive oil and 1/3 cup of water. So I'll do that for each bag. And then I'm also gonna toss in this can of diced tomatoes because I just feel like it needs a little more. And I have 3 little sausage links here that I'm gonna chop up. These are fully cooked. They also came from Trader Joe's. It's the sweet Italian style chicken sausage. So I'll chop those up into little pieces and toss those in as well. And then I think I'm also gonna throw in this feta cheese. And I'm just gonna cross my fingers and hope for the best because I'm gonna be out of the house while everybody is eating this, but I'll report back. Fingers crossed, everybody. Okay, so Brick and I just got home from ball practice and here is the pasta. It turned out fantastic. I've already tried it. It is so good. I mean, I've not had like a frozen pasta like this that tastes as good as this does. So this is what it is. It's from Trader Joe's, cheese-filled fiocchetti with pink sauce. I was going to serve this with a little broccoli on the side, just some steam in the bag broccoli or some kind of steam in the bag veggies, but I don't, it's just me eating now. Everybody else is eating, and so I just decided I'll just have this and call it a night. But this turned out really great, and it only took me like 15 minutes total to throw this together. So really good meal, and we're gonna use these up. So if you have a Trader Joe's in your area, I highly recommend this. So I have 3 kind of overripe bananas here, and I don't have any eggs. So I can't do banana muffins or banana bread or banana pancakes like I would normally do, at least not the way that I make them. But I was thinking about trying to make up like some snacks for the kiddos. And I thought about like a no-bake energy bite. This was sort of my inspiration for it because I've had this in the pantry for several months. So I'm gonna go ahead and make these according to the package direction. This is a mix that came from Aldi. I am going to add 1 banana to them, even though it doesn't call for it. I was kind of surprised. They're called banana chocolate chip protein bites, but I guess the banana is already in the mix. But I'm just gonna add a banana to this and reduce the water that it calls for, and then it calls for peanut butter and honey. But I thought that I would also try to make up something from scratch using stuff that I have in my pantry. So I'm gonna make up another batch using the other 2 bananas and then some of the stuff you see here. So I'm just gonna start with my 2 ripe bananas, and I'm gonna give those a little mash here. And I'm gonna add to that a 1/2 cup of peanut butter, but I'm gonna use my scale to measure it out so that I don't have to dirty up one of my measuring cups with peanut butter. I need 128 grams of peanut butter. So I'm gonna put that in here with the banana, which is almost exactly what I had in that container. I'm gonna stir that in. Now I'm gonna add 2 cups of quick cooking oats. And I'm also gonna add 1/2 cup of these sweetened coconut flakes. They've been in my pantry with the baking items for a little while, so I'm gonna use some of those. You could leave this out if you're not a coconut fan. My kids kind of like it. And I also have about 1/3 of a bag of chocolate chips, so I thought I'd throw those in there too. Just give that a stir. After I get this stirred up, I'm just gonna roll them into balls, and then I'll put them into the fridge or maybe even the freezer and let them set, and then I can just keep them in an airtight container in the fridge, and the kids can eat them throughout the week. My kids are very active I have a baseball player, a gymnast, and a swimmer. My swimmer just went from practicing an hour and a half a week to practicing an hour and a half a day, 4 days a week, and she is hungry. So I was thinking that these would just make really good little snacks, little energy bites for them. And this coupled with the box mix that I have should make some good snacks for everybody for the week. Tonight we are going to have fish for dinner. I have these salmon fillets in my freezer and also these fish sticks that I bought at Trader Joe's a few weeks back. And I'm gonna make these up for my family. I'm realizing that this is turning into more of like a freezer clean out than a pantry cooking challenge, but you know what? That's important too. Just because something is in the freezer doesn't mean that it lasts forever. And I don't know about you guys, but I have a second freezer out in the garage and sometimes it's like out of sight, out of mind. And I will find things in there months later, maybe underneath something, or as I'm trying to clean the freezer out or reorganize it. And I'm like, oh, well, this has been here forever. I mean, even if it's still edible, that doesn't mean that the flavor, the texture, the quality of the product hasn't been compromised the longer that it's sitting in the freezer. All that's to say, it's important to use stuff up in our freezer or at least rotate our stock of things that we keep in there so that we are using things in a timely manner and not sacrificing the quality of the product. So with the fish sticks, I'm gonna make these for the kids and I'm just gonna pop these into my air fryer. To go along with this, I think I'm just gonna make some good old box mac and cheese and throw some veggies on their plate and just be done with it. Just really easy kid weeknight dinner. With the salmon fillets, I gotta be honest, I've tried making salmon a few different ways with different recipes, different sauces, glazes, marinades, whatnot. And it's not that it's been bad, I just haven't found anything that I like wanna go back to. So I'm gonna try something different tonight. I'm actually gonna bake the salmon. So let me show you how I'm doing that and also what I'm making to go along with it. I am going to start by getting my salmon fillets ready to go in the oven. So I am just making a little lemon butter marinade slash sauce to go on top of the salmon while it bakes. So I started with 3 tablespoons of butter, which I melted, and then I squeezed the juice from 1 lemon and I added just a little bit of white wine, like maybe a 1/4 cup, and some minced garlic. That was probably about a tablespoon of minced garlic that was left in that jar that I was trying to use up. I'm gonna season this with some dried thyme and dried parsley, probably just about a 1/2 teaspoon of each. I just eyeballed it. I put a little pinch of parsley in there and just kind of shook the thyme until it was what I wanted it to be with the butter and the lemon and the wine and the garlic that's already in there. So I gave that a stir and then I'm pouring that over the top of my fillets, which I have on foil on top of a cookie sheet. And then I'm gonna fold the sides of this foil up and try to create kind of a little steam pocket for the fish to steam in for the first part of the cooking. I don't really care that it's airtight. I just want to try to keep a lot of the heat in there with the fish. So I'm going to put that in a 350-degree oven. I ended up doing about 15 minutes, baking this for about 15 minutes or so, which was maybe a minute or two too long, but hindsight is 20/20. It still came out really good. And then after it has baked for the time that you want it to bake for, you can maybe decide how much time you want it to bake for, how much time you want it to cook for in your own oven. I actually took it out and I opened up the foil and then I put it underneath the broiler for about 3 or 4 minutes just to finish cooking. And here's what it looks like when it was done. Ollie seems to be eyeing it very closely, but she's not gonna get any. Sorry, Ollie. And while this was cooking, I put together the risotto that my husband and I are gonna have with this. And this is what I'm using to make it. This is Lotto or Lodo, I don't know how to pronounce it, rice. It came in my Imperfect Foods box a few months back, and I've been wanting to use up this package, but it's basically very similar to arborio rice, which is what you use to make risotto. So to make risotto, you need to heat up your chicken broth or whatever you are gonna use to make it. And so I have that going on the side of the stove. It's just water with a little chicken broth base. I also cooked up a couple slices of bacon in my Dutch oven that you see there. I set the bacon aside when it was done cooking, but I left the bacon drippings in the pot and I added about a tablespoon of butter to the pot, and then I sauteed some onions for a couple minutes before adding some minced garlic, and then I let that saute together for about another minute or so. Now I'm gonna go ahead and put my rice in with the butter and the onions and garlic and let that brown for about a minute or so. It starts to get kind of a translucent sort of color. It ended up being a little bit more than a cup of the rice that was left, so it came out just right. And I have about 4 cups of my broth on the back burner there that you see. I'm gonna add just a little bit of salt and pepper because the broth has salt in it, and I put just a little bit of white wine into the pan, about a 1/4 cup, and let it simmer just for a minute while the rice finished browning. Now I'm going to start adding the broth, and this is what makes risotto so labor intensive, is you have to really be right there with it. You want to add your broth just a few spoonfuls at a time, and then you stir the risotto, or in this case the rice, until it has absorbed that liquid, and then you add a little bit more. And you just keep repeating this process until you have used up the broth. And like I said, I used about 4 cups of broth for 1 cup of the arborio rice or the lotto rice, which is what I'm using. And you can see that it's getting thicker here. It's starting to look creamier. And once I'd used up all my broth, I just added back in my bacon and my Parmesan cheese, and then it was ready to serve. And this was really, really good. Risotto is one of those dishes that's really not that hard, but like I said, it's just kind of tedious. So if you want to know somebody really loves you, if they make you risotto, that is definitely a good hint, because it takes a lot of time. You have to stay right there with it while it cooks. Otherwise, it doesn't cook properly and it can burn. So here it is all plated up with the salmon and the broccoli, and this was really, really delicious. It was a special treat because this kind of meal takes a little longer to cook, but it was really good. Tonight I am throwing together a little casserole that is going to use up a whole bunch of partially used packages and containers of things. I have just a little bit of this brown rice left, like maybe about a cup, maybe just a smidge more. I have half a package of frozen corn, about half of this sour cream left, a little less than half this container of cottage cheese, and I also have just about 5 ounces or so of various cheese here that was in the refrigerator. Plus, I'm going to use a can of black beans and a can of tomatoes from my pantry. So what I'm going to do is just cook up this brown rice. I'm just going to cook it on the stove, and then I'm going to combine it with this sour cream and the cottage cheese and the corn. I will add the black beans and the tomatoes as well, stir that all together, put it into a casserole dish, top it with the cheese, and then I will just bake it in the oven for probably about 25 to 30 minutes until it is bubbly. I'll probably just season it with a little bit of salt and pepper, maybe just a little bit of taco seasoning or like chili powder, garlic powder, oregano, just kind of some basic seasonings from the pantry. And this will make a really great casserole that will go well with chips, or that would go well with tortillas. So it'll be almost kind of like a Tex-Mex style dip that we can use a lot of different ways. And like I said, it's getting rid of a bunch of open packages of things. So it will be very easy and very economical. I am working on some dinner for tonight, and on the stove, I have some bacon. I actually chopped this bacon up using my kitchen shears. It was the rest of the package that I didn't use from what I made the other night. And I went ahead and chopped that into little pieces, put it in here. I have some diced onion behind me, and also a couple cloves of garlic that are ready to mince. So what I'm gonna do is give this bacon a head start, and then I'm gonna add the chopped onion. And then a few minutes later, I'm gonna add the minced garlic, and I'm gonna let it all kind of sizzle and saute together. And then I'm going to add some tomatoes. I think I'm gonna add probably 1 big can, like a big 28-ounce can, or maybe 2 small cans. It depends on what I have in my pantry. I'm gonna add that to the pot, along with, I think I'm just gonna use spaghetti seasoning if I have some already made up. And if you were wondering how I make spaghetti seasoning homemade, it's right here. But I also have a video about that and some other like packet mixes that I make myself from just stuff in my cabinet. But you could just use some Italian seasoning and salt and pepper if you wanted. If you want to throw in just basil, oregano, garlic powder, onion powder, if you wanted to just season this yourself. But if I have some spaghetti seasoning mixed up, I'm going to go ahead and use that. And I'm also going to put in, I think I have about half a brick of cream cheese left. I'm going to toss that in as well and just kind of let that simmer for a little bit. Then I'm going to add about 4 cups of water, about 4.5 cups of water, and I'm going to cook some pasta that I have left over. And what I have is about 10 ounces of whole wheat pasta and about 6 ounces of regular bow tie pasta. And I'm gonna go ahead and give the whole wheat pasta a head start because it takes a little bit longer to cook than the regular pasta. So after I make my sauce, put in my water, I'm gonna add this, let it cook for 4 or 5 minutes, and then add this and let it cook for about 10 minutes more. And we should have some pasta for dinner. So we'll see how that turns out. Okay, so here it is, and I just tried a bite of this and it turned out really, really good. The flavor is really fantastic. I was worried about how this would turn out using bacon instead of like a sausage or a ground meat or something, but it really is great. And I just used, you know, the kind of stuff that I would normally have on hand. I mean, I might not normally have bacon on hand, but pasta and the tomatoes and just seasonings from my spice cabinet. Cream cheese is something we pretty much always have. So I guess, you know, this kind of pasta dish and just using whatever meat we might have hanging around, you know, that might be a go-to meal for us in the future because this turned out really good. I have one more meal that I want to include in this video that will help me clear out at least one more thing from my freezer. And that is a meal that I prepped in another video you will have seen on my channel a few weeks back. It was featuring recipes from my friend Carrie's website, Lazy Day Cooking Club. She and her sister run Lazy Day Cooking Club, and it's a member recipe subscription service where they drop 20 new recipes into their members' dashboards every month. They also have a very active Facebook group, and they go live there all the time and give additional recipes and tips and tricks. But these recipes are specifically designed for freezer meal prep and for the crock pot. So it tells you what to do to prep it for the freezer and then what to do on cooking day. So I did a video where I prepped, I think, 5 or 6 dinners, and I did it on like a $30 budget. So I will leave that video linked in the description box, as well as a link to Lazy Day Cooking Club. This is for a chicken drumsticks dinner. I think it's ranch chicken drumsticks. My kids love chicken legs, so they're gonna really look forward to this. And I cook them in the crock pot, and then the last 10 minutes before we're ready to eat them, I pop them under the broiler, and it helps kind of crisp up that skin on the drumsticks. And that is going to clear out another thing from my freezer, and I'm really pleased with the things that we've been able to use up. So that is my challenge for you guys. If you have freezers, if you have one, if you have 2, if you've got a chest freezer in the garage, go out and check and see what you have. Maybe you've forgotten about things. I mean, if you're like me, you have, because there were things in there that I had totally forgotten that we had. And maybe think about trying to incorporate one of those items into your meal plan for the week so that you can, you know, save yourself on your grocery bill and use something you already have on hand, and also make sure that it's not going to waste. So thank you so much for watching, you guys. I hope this was helpful or gave some inspiration or some ideas, and I will be sure to check in with another video very soon.